Hi, welcome to another edition of our PSU Presser. Corey Geiger joined by Neil Riddell. Let's get to the topic of the week first, because everybody over the last couple of days has been talking about this thud tackling issue. It's appeared in every newspaper. Bill O'Brien made a preemptive strike. He addressed thud before he was asked even any questions today, Neil. He says that the tackling problems Saturday have nothing to do with their thud issues in practice.
Right, he's blaming it on every other thing, positioning, alignment, and willingness to make the tackle. He seemed confident that they were going to make those adjustments, but he just felt that to blame it on their approach to practice, saying it's very similar to most of the other teams in the country that he knew about, including the NFL. He pointed out that the NFL, and I did not know this until today, only has 17 practices in pads all year. Once training camp, I guess, is over. So he tried to diffuse that. I mean, he did meet the idea that they clearly didn't play well enough defensively head on, and, they're evaluating that. And I saw where they moved Obang over to the other linebacker spot, which he's now an or with Wortman. So I don't know if that means that Obang could actually be the starting defensive one of the linebackers this week.
Well, they obviously missed a lot of tackles, and look, we didn't play college football. 99.999% of the people didn't play college football. Maybe you played high school. Maybe you did thud. Maybe you didn't. I just think it's one of those things that it seems like an easy excuse when something goes wrong. Derek Williams said on my radio show, we have a blog on AltoonaMirror.com about this, he said that they never tackled in practice when he was here. Sean Lee, Paul Posluszny, Navarro, they never tackled him. So I just wonder how much emphasis is being placed on this stud as maybe just an easy excuse.
Yeah, well, I think anytime, there's nothing more overanalyzed than football, particularly at the college and the NFL level. I mean, everything is on the table, dissected all week long. That's what makes it a unique sport. Everybody's a Monday morning quarterback, so you're looking for all kinds of reasons of what went on. Clearly it was probably a personnel issue as much as it was an approach to practice issue, and he did not sound like he was making a lot of changes, said they were pretty confident in their players and whatnot. And again, it's one game, and they ran into a hot quarterback and a real pretty talented offense.
Glenn Carson said on a teleconference Tuesday, he called the loss a blessing in disguise. He said that it will make the team more focused. They're obviously putting a positive spin on things. They do have Kent State. This is a very winnable game. They're favored by about 20 on Saturday, so we'll see a much different outcome on Saturday. But the blessing in disguise component, what would you make of that? Is that just saying the right thing after a loss?
Well, I mean, to me, it's interesting. The more you lose, you've taken your first loss now. Does this make them more of a threat to go to Indiana and win, which I think was going to be a difficult game because Indiana can really score? Or the fact that you've already kind of have your head on the swivel because you've taken your loss, or you're a little bit more determined, you're able to cope with some adversity better when the Big Ten season starts. Maybe that's what he meant.
That's a great point. And when they started to win last year, they beat Navy, they beat Temple, they got it going. And maybe that's what can happen this week against Kent State. You get some confidence going. I'll say this, because I do think that Central Florida team is very good. I'm no less confident that they can win against virtually any team left on the schedule than I was before Saturday. Now, I don't think they're going to beat Ohio State. I think Ohio State's better than them. But what has Nebraska shown you? Nothing. And their coach is facing all kinds of issues now. What is Michigan? They almost lose to Akron. These are going to be tough games, and Penn State might lose. But just because Penn State lost to Central Florida, I'm not going to necessarily say that changes how how they're going to play later on.
Nobody said Penn State was going to be undefeated, and not that many people thought that they necessarily would be 4-0 going into Indiana. They thought that between Syracuse and maybe Central Florida that they could stub their toe. This looks like a team that could lose some games, maybe more than one that you expect them to win, and maybe win games that you might not expect them to win. So I think that's part of the entertainment component that you're getting right now.
Yeah, and your point, you've talked about this over the past couple of days. You can lose 34-31, and the fans leave here feeling like they saw a good game. I mean, that's part of
I got 3 or 4 emails on Sunday and said, it was disappointing that they lost, but they can't remember a game where they've been more entertained by two quarterbacks and offense like this.
And let's give credit where it's due. Central Florida has good players, outstanding quarterback, outstanding receivers. Penn State's cornerbacks struggled, Jordan Lucas and Trevor Williams. That's going to have to be shored up, and it's easy to say that. But then again, you kind of think, well, how many other terrific throwing quarterbacks are they going to see? The Indiana kid's okay. Devin Gardner from Michigan is okay. But they're not going to face another quarterback like that this year.
Yeah, probably not. I look at right now, they're last in the Big Ten in turnover margin. That usually has a lot to do with your one-loss record. Deion Barnes has been pretty quiet. Now, Bill O'Brien said today that he's been double-teamed a lot, and they've been running away from him. But the fact is, usually your blindside hits, your sacks come from your defensive ends, and they haven't forced a number of fumbles so far. So I think that's something to keep an eye on this week. The other thing, and it didn't come up in the press conference today, I thought maybe it would have, was Adrian Amos. They appeared to move him back to corner late in the game against Central Florida. We'll see. Keep an eye on that this week.
All right, Kent State at home. The last line I saw was 19. So what's your pick?
I picked it 34-10. If you finish strong and go into a bye week and be at 4-1, and I think their offense, Penn State's offense, has played pretty well. Kent State's coming off a trip to LSU, where it was kind of ugly down there, and they also were blown out by a Bowling Green team that got blown out by Indiana. So I think Penn State will win this game decisively.
I'm going to go 40-13, so I'm right there with you. I'm going 27. I think we're going to see the offense figure some things out again, because this is the last chance before the Big Ten. They've got a bye week before the Big Ten, and they're going to have to score points against Indiana. So I think Bill O'Brien wants to make sure his offense is in position to be able to score a lot of points once they get into the Big Ten schedule. All right, for Neil Riddell, I'm Corey Geiger, Lee Carey on the video as always. Thanks for tuning in.